welcome to Almost 30 Podcast.
Hi, everybody. It's Lindsey and Krista. I was thinking, like, if I ever said welcome to Almost 30, it would be like, huh.
I know, I was just thinking that. I'm like, we should need to break out of that flow. It's actually important. When I read this book, it was called Moonwalking with Einstein by Jonathan Sanfoer. It's about memory and like all the important and interesting parts of our memory, but it talks about how it's important to do things like take a different route to work, or for us, if we're in the pattern of me starting and then you saying, hello, everybody, you know, it's like, how can we break out of that to just bring more conscious attention to our life by mixing it up? Let's start over.
It's an interesting thing because if you watch or from whether childhood or when we were younger and there were talk shows and they would either start or end like the same way, have like a sign on or sign off, which I guess is a little freaky if you think about it.
Lots of like YouTubers have that too, where they have like a signature sign on or sign off and people get like really attached to it. But I think even for our old intro, when it was like, and really fucking funny when we had that, people would always say that on tour. They'd be like, oh yeah, and really fucking funny.
Totally.
I just cussed on my Instagram stories and it bleeps it out.
Oh, I kind of like that.
I actually think that is so stupid. I just am like, again, like you're going to show me like the most horrific, disgusting, gross stuff. Megan Fox drinking her fiance's blood. And then I'm like, but I'm like ass. And it's like, I'm like, okay.
If I see another headline about Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly, I'm going to poke my eyes out.
What was the article I did from? So first of all, they got engaged and they share their engagement. And I just was like, okay. Because she's like, it's so stupid and dramatic. Like they act like they're so unique and different. They're like two totally lost outcasts. It's like, you're literally the most popular people in pop culture. You're not outcasts.
So
they're like love strong, you know, for the moon. And it's like, and then we drank each other's blood. Like, it's just so fucking, I'm like, you guys are literally 15-year-olds.
And he's like, there's a thorn on the ring, so when she takes it off, it pierces her.
Are you lying to me?
I swear it's a headline right now. You can Google it.
And then what was it? Like some popular magazine was like, this is what happens when you drink someone's blood.
I know.
I was like, hey, everybody, let's not. Let's move on. It's just like,
it's gross.
What is going on? It's so gross and weird. And I honestly think Megan Fox is like a demon. I think she's like some sort of demon. If you see all of her posts, they're very weird. And in some spiritual books, they talk about sometimes demons are the most attractive people.
I mean, is MGK not?
He's just troubled. That is a troubled being.
Dude. I had never, ever listened to his music ever.
Same.
And I was like, let's just have a little gander. And so I went on to his Instagram because I've never been on there either. And I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
This is one of the most popular artists right now.
Yes.
Okay.
You're like, got it. Don't know a single song. They did this interview with GQ and it was so fucking hilarious because they're both sitting in the thing and they're asking the questions. And MGK's like to Megan Fox with his like little question card. He's like, what's your favorite way to relax? And he's like, like,
ew,
I'm like 15 years old. 15 years old. You do that in literally high school. You're like, her favorite way to relax is like sucking my dick. It's like, no. She's like, oh, stop. That's not my favorite way to relax. I'm like, dude, so fucking stupid. Literally so stupid. It was
we wonder why relationships are like, you know, this is what people are modeling things off after.
Yeah.
Because they really worship certain relationships in pop culture.
Yes. Yeah. And in that one post of theirs, she's like, shamans, they have so much sex, or like the type of sex they have makes the devil clutch his pearls. It's like, dude. Yeah, dude, the devil references and blood references are absurd. It's it's like very front and center right now. Just how it's sort of moving in that direction where they're not really hiding that sort of thing anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's not, for me, I'm just like, how is that artistic or cool or, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I've been catching some music videos because they've been now premiering music videos in commercial form which is weird. So like music videos are now like a commercial. So you see it because there's not like the MTV culture anymore or whatever. And I mean, that's a whole show.
I can't.
That's a whole show to break down fucking music videos. It was like a Katy Perry music video with a lasso or something. And I was like, what's happening?
There's a show on Gaia that actually does that. It's like, it breaks down Hollywood movies. So like Stanley Kubrick stuff, which is like Eyes Wide Shut or Matrix or, you know, really crazy stuff. And it kind of breaks everything down because once you start to see, you're like, oh, okay. And even if they don't know what they're doing, they're recycling the same type of imagery, the same type of symbolism, the same type of vibe. It's like, you notice a lot of Egyptian in there. You notice a lot of like certain types of colors, certain types of references, a lot to like God and the devil. And like, you know, they're just kind of always playing into that same thing. And nothing's really interesting or fresh or new, but it's bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Justin and I we're trying to watch Game of Thrones, or he's seen Game of Thrones. And I was like, all right, I'll try and watch it. Dude, I can make it through 2 minutes at a time. It's so gory. Have you seen it?
I've never seen it. I can't with that stuff. I'm like, I have no interest. But I watch like not voluntarily, but I'll get into like other gory stuff more so like real, like cocaine and I don't know, shoot 'em up. I don't know, whatever.
Shoot 'em up.
But yeah, I never got into Game of Thrones. But I can't imagine filming that,
dude. I
just can't imagine it's the gore and then obviously the nakedness, which is fine, but
dude,
it's like
mad nakedness. I used to talk shit to Justin. I'm like, oh, are you watching the like
porn?
Yeah. I was like, are you watching porn? And he's like, oh, there's not anything. And I'm like, dude, I've seen tons of peen, tons of tits. There's so much. Every scene is either nakedness or gore. There's so much gore. And it's like, you can't. He's like, it's a show. It's a show. It's a show. But I'm like, but they just burnt children. I'm like, they just fed children to like a wild beast in the woods. I'm like, they just cut a horse's head off. How do you like, it's so crazy. I'm just like, I don't know if I can keep doing it, but I just wonder, I'm like, are people okay that they could
the whole thing.
Honestly sit in a couch and watch it and be like, yeah, totally.
I wonder if it's a form of like escapism. And then also like, I guess comparatively, if you're watching that, you're like, I guess my life's pretty good. You know what I mean? But we were watching Ted Lasso for the last few weeks and how I feel when I go to bed is completely different than I was when I was watching like another more intense
Ted Lasso's
show.
Life.
Oh, it's the best. And the first episode, I was like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know if this is my humor. And then I was like, this is my fucking humor, man.
Yes.
Stupid as
The writing got better over and over. Like the writing and the jokes got way better as it progressed.
And you're in the world, you know, like you're in the world more and you're like, this is my thing.
I was watching, have you seen the morning news or the news show? What is it called?
Not yet. Morning show? No, not
morning
yet.
show. It was good. It was good. It kind of in season 2, it was like COVID focused. And I'm like, I'm kind of good on that. That's in my face 24/7 otherwise. So I actually don't want to watch a show that's in real time. Like,
I always wonder what that means. Is that like the signaling that like while they were filming, I don't know. I guess it's more like real time, current, whatever.
Who wants that though? Because then it's like Inception. You're like, this is a show that's actually happening right now. And then I'm watching a show about a show that's sharing about this same topic. It's like, I'm kind of good on that. It's not like I want to be in complete fantasy world, but it was just, and one of the characters got it. And I was just like, oh, we're watching her progress through COVID. I'm like, this is fucking,
that's weird.
It's the worst thing I've ever seen. I don't want to like watch someone get COVID. Like everyone's kind of going through that process or had it. Totally. You know what I mean? It's like, it was just it was like very weird. But otherwise, I really like the show because it's kind of goes into like the nuances of a lot of things. And I fucking love Steve Carell, dude. He's just the best.
I love Steve Carell.
There's no one better.
So much. I miss
Michael Scott is the greatest TV character of all time.
Completely agree. Actually, that's a good reminder. Maybe a YouTube search of best Steve Carell moments of all time would do a body good.
That one's actually one of my favorites. Or watching Key and Peele best Key and Peele moments or Nathan For You is like some of the best. It's like TikTok. I don't do TikTok, but sometimes Justin will have those up and I'm like, oh, that's like a good reason to watch it because you get the highlights.
Mm-hmm. I went on TikTok just to see a video someone sent me and I was like, God.
Okay. I know. Dude, I saw too much. I don't like that it's black.
What do you mean?
It feels very like portally. Yeah, like the black. And it's kind of, I don't know, the way of the app. And just like when you go on, you just see these people's faces staring at you and it weirds me out.
And you see, like, if you go onto someone's page, it's like a GIF of all the videos and it's like,
yes. But it keeps your attention because your eyes are like, something's moving. What's that? Something's moving. And I just, dude, the sexualization shit, I cannot. And I'm just like, oh my God, they want more of my time. I'm like, they want more of my fucking time. They want me to spend hours on a 5-second video. Like, I can't even keep up with one.
I know, dude. And to track like the press behind certain apps, like when they like put TikTokers on a pedestal and they're like Vogue Person of the Year and it's like a TikToker.
Yeah, dude.
It's like this weird thing that the media and press does with these platforms. Obviously, I'm sure there's some things behind it and intention behind it, but it's very weird because then it's like, oh, that's something to aspire to and become obsessed with. And it's very weird.
It's weird too, like what we're defining as like art and like, you know, as culture changing. It's like, where's the award for someone that figures out recycling? I was talking to Lacey and Jenna today and we were talking about like NFT crypto stuff. And I was like, why is everyone so focused on this? Like, we actually don't have a recycling program in the United States. Like, China used to buy our recycling and now they don't. It's like, why? We can't even figure basic stuff out. Like, let's figure out plastic. Let's figure out recycling. 100%. Let's figure out our school system. Let's figure out like healthcare. And we're all just like, what is this? And then we're putting these people on a pedestal that it actually is a lot of work to be a TikTok star. Like, you definitely have to be creative and figure out all these things, but it's like, that's our highest value point of reference, you know, where like this is.
We're following we're following the money. We're following where the attention is.
Attention is for sure.
You know,
attention.
By
where
we,
attention
I just mean,
goes, energy flows, which is applicable to TikTok and Instagram. And I've noticed on Instagram, they want you to do reels only. They're like, no. I know you want to post that. We want a reel.
I'm like, let me post a static image of
Dude,
my
honestly,
face.
I'm like, don't force me to set up a tripod in my apartment of me like pouring milk in my cereal. I'm like, I don't want a fucking tripod in my life.
Yeah.
I just want to post what I want to post.
Yeah, it's an intro. I wonder what the next thing will be.
I don't know.
Any predictions?
Meta's stupid. I don't know, man. They're microchipping our hands. Who fucking knows?
I wondered what that cut was on my thumb.
I know, honestly. Who's got a chip? Where's that? Everyone who gets a chip, you can get our NFT and then you join our Discord and we'll be talking about microchips. But I think they already are microchipping people. Dude. I think it's called transhumanism, where they basically are trying to merge AI with humans. I don't know, man. Who knows? Because who knows? Who knows? I don't want to predict. Because then we're just creating. I'm like, well, let's predict something great.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, but
where our focus goes.
This one is a good one. I'm excited to share with you this conversation with Organic Olivia, who Lindsey and I are both obsessed with. So this was an episode that was shared on her podcast, What's the Juice? And we found this conversation to just be perfect for our community as well. We feel like it was that perfect balance of like girl talk, connection, laughing, fun, and then a lot of depth. So there was that like levity, and then there was that beautiful gravity that we often bring into conversations. And we talked about finding creative purpose. We talked about comparison, you know, what happens when we compare and what that feels like. We talked about consumption versus creation on social. We talked about creating community, thriving through your Saturn return, self-love, setting boundaries. It's all those things we like to talk about in our community. And I know you all will love this one.
And it was so cool to talk to her because she's going through her Saturn return. So like, I feel like she was gleaning a lot. And so anyone listening who is going through their Saturn return, hello, we see you. We started this podcast because of this time. And I feel like Olivia is just someone who, yeah, she is like someone you would aspire to kind of not emulate, but I do feel like her growth path is so honest, so real, like high, low, all around. And she's been so open about sharing kind of what's working for her, what's not. So yeah, it's just really good to go deep with her. So this again is our episode on What's the Juice. That's Organic Olivia's podcast. You can subscribe to her pod as well. Highly recommend. And she also has incredible products as well. You can check it out at organicolivia.com.
Yeah, I love her Magic Mane is like one of my favorite products for hair. And I love all the tinctures. I like the liver juice. I like the mood juice, adrenal recovery formula, but her products are incredible. You can use code almost30 and that will get you a discount on anything from organicolivia.com. And again, we had her on our show. So if you're interested in more from her, you can search Organic Olivia Almost 30 and hear her episode on our podcast, which was so good. So this is a collab that we love and respect and support. And we're excited to share this with you.
Yeah, enjoy this episode. We'll have a little more on the other side of it for you. Subscribe to Almost 30 if you haven't already, and we'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon.
I would love for you to each like introduce yourselves and then also sign in Sun, Moon, and Rising.
Love.
Okay. So I'm Krista Williams. I'm co-founder and co-host of Almost 30. I do some things on my personal website too, related to spiritual texts and other types of things. I have a tarot deck coming out, but my signs are Pisces Sun, Virgo Rising, and Sagittarius Moon. And I'm a projector in human design.
I am too.
Yes, of course.
What's your authority?
My authority is sacral.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How is that? How is knowing?
Knowing is life. It's hard when you guys don't know. It's hard to you. I'm just kidding.
No, I get it. Is that like your Sag moon kind of interacts with that too? Do you feel?
I feel like that. And also I feel like I've always been claircognizant. So it's just like that kind of part of me that always just knows. And I feel like that to me is the most special part of me, is the knowing.
Is it hard to listen to the knowing, or it just comes easy?
No, it is hard, but I'll make myself crazy if I don't, or I'll be sick or I'll be unhappy. So it's like, and I know now I have the awareness, and I think we probably all do, that I know when I'm not listening, that I'm kind of like, I laugh at myself. I'm like, oh, you're going to fucking do that again, where you're just avoiding, you're procrastinating, you're do all these things. So now I kind of have a gentler approach with it. But for most of my life, I was so unhappy not listening to my gut that I just drove myself crazy.
I love that. Yeah. Lessons not learned in blood are soon forgotten.
Wow. Oh, okay.
That's a quote from
love
Nick.
That.
He didn't make it up, but it's a quote that he says to me almost every day.
Wow.
Oh,
Full of metaphors.
Oh, I love that.
Go for it.
I am Lindsey Simcik. I am the other half of Almost 30. And I also make music and just multi-passionate, multi-creative. I'm a manifesting generator, which is basically what that is. And my sun, I'm a Virgo sun, Gemini moon, and Libra rising. Oh yeah, let's talk about Gemini moon.
You guys are Gemini moons?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, y'all.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. How was your experience being a Gemini moon?
Yeah.
Can you
I
pick
feel like
one
it's been
interest?
heightened lately. Yeah, I mean, I do feel that twin energy in my like emotional body. And I can be really hard on it, you know, where I kind of shame myself for feeling one way one day and then like kind of being in a completely different mood, if you will, the next day. And, you know, I've been really trying to be more gentle and just take it as like information. Like our feelings tell us so much about not only our intuition, but just like giving us information about experiences and people and what we need. And so, yeah, I've been less of a, you know, just nag to myself about trying to be like, come on, be more balanced, be more stable in that way. Like it's just not me. And I think what happens is my perfectionist tries to like harness it and like smooth it over. And then that Gemini moon is unexpressed really.
Yes.
And so I get like, then I get real crazy. You know, I feel like I bubble up and then it's like I'm overflowing and I'm like, oh my God.
Which is so funny because you're so balanced. So it's all internal.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You know, you'd be like, oh, you're
well, that's the Virgo sun where I'm like, I'm fine.
Yes.
I'm perfect.
Yes, all is well.
I'm beautiful.
You know, I think Virgo and Gemini placements together are like life's hardest challenge. Like God was just like, take this. It is so difficult because the Gemini wants to be creative and this like ever so changing, curious, you know, I'm interested in this one day. I want to paint the next day. I want to do this. And then the Virgo's like, but you have to be good at it.
Yeah.
And the Gemini moon is like, but I wanted to have fun.
Yeah,
and Virgo's like, no, shut up. Like it's very difficult. What's your human design?
Manifesting generator.
Oh yeah. Okay. You said, and your authority.
Emotional.
Okay. So I'm emotional authority too. So
what does that mean? I forget.
Maybe it's our Gemini moon. Maybe
Yeah,
that's why we have the emotional authority. Because as soon as you said sacral authority, I'm like, okay, moon is totally emotion. So maybe that's, you know, just that knowing in your gut. The Sag is just so direct. It's like, duh. What are you talking about? But the Gemini moon. So it's having emotional authority is having a Gemini moon, basically, where it's just you have to feel the waves, ride the waves. You have to wait for like the extreme anger or passion or excitement or whatever to kind of come down and then have the extreme low. And then wait until you're back at baseline to make any decision.
That's why and I can't process in the moment, or that's what I like, process is the word, but there might be another one where I'm like, I gotta wait. You know, like I feel that where I'm like, it's going to change for me. I need to wait. And I think it can be hard when like, there's like a Krista that just knows. There's like, you know, it's like, so it's,
But I've learned from that.
Yes.
It's actually helped me a lot. Her processing, I process in the moment, but I'm processed and I'm like fucking aggressive and direct. I'm like, I'm processing in the moment and like making everyone miserable while doing it. So taking the moment has helped me too, where I can be like, okay, what's my intention? What is truth? Like remembering what the truth is. Like the truth, when we really get down to it, is like that we love each other, that we're here for each other, that we want the best for each other. And like, this is just part of the journey of us through our evolution of like how we're just going to figure it out. And sometimes I just get so hot when I'm processing that it's like, it's not helpful. So your delay has helped me actually.
Yeah. And we have that mirror all the time with each other, which is such a gift. And I think like I've been able to like honor the way in which I'm supposed to, you know, either respond to things or make decisions to things. Because oftentimes I will compare myself where I'm like, but they can make decisions so quickly and they're so clear, or they can say how they feel in the moment and it's so clear. Like, why can't I do that? Like, be more like them. And I think human design especially has really helped me to like own who I innately am instead of like trying to become someone that I'm not.
How does the need to wait to make decisions affect you in business? Because sometimes that's a little hard for me, especially when you're working with a new team member or someone who doesn't get your style yet. And you're like, no, like I need to wait until I feel the yes. And I just don't know when that's going to be when I feel the answer.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Cause we move so fast, you know? So I, you know, we trust each other, you know, if Krista knows, like I trust that she knows. But I also don't want to hold up things sometimes. So it's like, if I feel that like I really need to sit with this and we should wait on the decision, like I will say so. But I also think that we balance each other so well in the process. And like when she knows and she moves, it's like, okay. And I can support in the ways that like where I'm really in my genius. But I mean, with my own creative process, like, yeah, it takes time. And I think like I see people just like creating things and they're out there and they're putting it on Instagram. They're doing all these things. I'm like, I need the process. Like the process is like kind of where I love, you know what I mean? Where I'm just like, oh yeah, this is why I do it. Like the process of and feeling through everything. And yeah, I'll probably create something, but like the process is really like where I feel alive.
Yes. And I used to think for myself that going slow was like a pain point or a negative. But I realized that I was just feeling that way. Other people don't really mind when I go slow. It's me that needs to accept that. Because like you said, that's where your genius is, and going slow and doing your thing. So it's just kind of embracing, because other people respect the way you want to do things. Yes. We have to respect it.
And it's also 100%. Like, if you're running the business, like, what's the rush?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like all this self-created pressure that we just create on ourselves to like know the answer, like know the next step, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if you're running the business, it's like, take your time.
Speaking of business, I would love to know how you two began working together and started almost 30 podcasts.
Oh, yes. So we were in our Saturn return, which I know you just started. Welcome. It's a wild ride, babe. So we were in our Saturn returns. I don't think we really knew that was happening when we first met. I didn't understand astrologically what was happening, but I had just really tried my best to pursue a career as a soul cycle instructor. So I auditioned in New York City when I lived in New York City. And I wanted to audition in LA, and I had been in the corporate world. So I had been in consulting and marketing and events, and I had really run the gamut, and I was miserable at every job that I had. It was like my dying wish to find my purpose and to find my passion. And at each job, I just felt even more miserable because I felt like I was abandoning myself in the corporate environment. It just felt like it wasn't for me. So I was like, maybe Soul Cycle's it. Like, it felt like it was it. I was like doing my best to manifest Soul Cycle, what I perceived as manifestation. And I didn't get the first audition, which was like so heartbreaking. They emailed me like literally 45 minutes later. I was like, could I have like a night of like dreaming that I got this role? They emailed me like 45 minutes later. I didn't get it. But what I started to do is I realized that my voice on the microphone was really bad. So I got on the microphone at Soul Cycle to go up to the audition, and I was so uncomfortable being on a microphone. It repulsed me to hear my voice. So I was like, either way, if I audition or not, I need to get more comfortable hearing my voice projected. I need to get more comfortable with my voice. So with my corporate job, I would leave every Wednesday, go uptown and do a voice lesson to get more comfortable on the microphone. So I would do that. I did that for like 6 or 7 months, like just really, really trying to figure out my voice. And it was so helpful. So when I went to move to Los Angeles with my husband, I was connected with Lindsey, who was a Soul Cycle instructor in LA. And I was like, hey, can you help me with my audition? She was like, yeah, we FaceTimed, and she helped me, but I didn't get the audition. Thank God. And there was just something about our relationship. There was something about her where I felt like there was this click. I was like, oh, wow, this is something. And I was like, I remember one day I was in my living room and I was walking across the floor and I was like, oh, this is the missing puzzle piece. I was like, this is it. Like, it felt like I had everything I needed in my life, you know, with my husband, with her, with where I was. So we started to have these really deep conversations. I was super lost. I was so sad that Soul Cycle wasn't it. I felt super just down on myself because I wanted my life to have meaning. And it really, really felt like it didn't. She was going through her own transitions with relationships, with her own life. And I just said one day, I'm like, hey, do you think we could start a podcast? Like, I had loved podcasts. I had been listening for years and years, especially in New York City on my commute. And I wanted to do something where I could explore, where I could ask questions, where I could be curious. And so we started the podcast, and we recorded for 7 months on the closet floor at my apartment and where you were living. And eventually we launched our show, and, you know, it's evolved so much. It was like dating and relationships and like embarrassing stories. And then it was health and wellness. And now really it's spirituality and lifestyle, but it really supported us through our Saturn return. And really that's what Almost 30 is about, is supporting people through these life transitions, because it really has supported us.
Mm-hmm.
It's so perfect that it's almost 30, because that's when you're done. That was the point, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
okay, I get it.
We didn't know what was going on. We're like, why is there so much change? Why does this feel so serious? Why? Every part of our life was changing. Like, I was moving, you had moved, my career, your career, our relationships, our friends. You're really getting serious about life. And, you know, from the astrological perspective, it's the Saturn return. But from the brain perspective, your prefrontal cortex actually comes online after you're 25. So the age range varies for most people, but you're really becoming conscious of who you are and how you interact with the world. So before that point, you're acting from the place of the lower base of your brain, which is like the programming that you were really given as like when you were really young from your family. And then at that point, you're able to have your prefrontal cortex come online, which means you're able to interact with the decisions of your life. So you're able to really be the person that's going to be like, what do I want? Like, what am I doing here? And you really have that awakening. So there was that conversation with the brain sort of happening with us too.
When Krista said, let's start a podcast, what were your thoughts? Like, what were you going through with your Saturn return?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always down to do something creative. I mean, I feel like that's something I've always done and something that's always made me really happy. So it was an immediate yes, because I'm like, I don't know how to do this, but we'll figure it out. But in my life at the time, I had about, I guess like a year and a half, maybe 2 years prior, broken up with a long-term boyfriend. But the effects of that breakup were just, you know, I feel like that was like the pre-Saturn return fire, you know, that like the little like fire you have at a campsite, and then it turned into a forest fire of sorts. You know, I thought he was the one. I really thought he was the one. And as you do when you're 24, 25. And I really didn't know myself. I really identified as like his girlfriend. You know, I didn't really know who I was. And so I was really unhappy in the relationship towards the end. We didn't know how to communicate at all. And I cheated on him. And it wasn't just like a one-time thing. It was like a very committed, you know, affair of sorts. And so it was really intense. And I didn't know that girl, you know, it was like definitely me doing it, but I didn't know her, and it freaked me out, you know, when it all went up in flames and, you know, he found out. And yeah, even talking about it now, I'm like, who's she? You know, it's very weird, but I think I had gotten past the point of where my soul was like, so I've been giving you like a lot of messages and signs that this ain't it. Like this season with him is done and you have not been listening. And so we're going to just do this thing. And it was horrible. You know, I would never do it again. You know, I think I have the tools now to communicate my needs and all of that. But what that, you know, opened up for me was this very long season of being single. I was single for like 6 or 7 years after that period. And if anyone would have told me, hey, you're going to be single for the next 7 years, I think it would have been like, okay, like,
let's skip this.
Like literally, how do we skip this, you know? But it was the most transformative season of my life, you know, like to really understand who I am, and walk back to myself, because I just walked so far, you know, as you do, like in your 20s, like you're just like, how do I get validation from friends, from work? Like, how do I look like this? It's so out. And so I was able to just come back in and, yeah, it was just a really beautiful, beautiful time. And so anyway, that was kind of the start of my Saturn return shortly after I moved to LA, which was like the event. I think moving to LA was like the event of my Saturn return. And, you know, I just, that season in LA, almost 7 years, like, oh my God, like I changed so, or I just became more of who I was so much, you know?
I love that.
And Almost 30 was such a huge part of that, obviously. You know, we started it because of our Saturn return, but then like just continues so much growth and discovery through this beautiful entity that is Almost 30.
I think so many people listening right now are most likely going through their Saturn return. If you're anywhere from 27 to 30, check your chart, go on a Saturn return calculator. And I'd love to kind of hear both of your advice for them. And I'd love to ask you if you think, you know, if you do listen to those messages and those signs that the universe was kind of giving you, do you think it can be easier, or is it always meant to kind of kick you in the ass and perhaps show you things like how selfish you are, like what we just talked about?
Yeah, I think that's really it. You know, it's if you are on the aligned path of your life and you really have listened to the signs and you really are living in integrity and you really are living by your design astrologically, or how your like authentic code is supposed to be, the Saturn return feels good. It's almost like Mercury in retrograde.
Yeah.
Like you don't feel the effects if you're really living an aligned life that feels really good to you. But, you know, for me, I completely wasn't. And I think it's really hard, especially the first Saturn return. Like we really have spent a lot of our life being programmed or being taught who to be, how to act, how to get love, what's acceptable, what's not. So it's like really that time where you're like, okay, who am I? You know, like who is this person? So my advice for people is, I think taking radical responsibility for your life is the most important thing. And when I really was like, okay, I'm actually responsible for being in a career that I hate, not being as successful as I want, not loving my body in the way that I wanted to, not having the deep, meaningful relationships that I wanted to, it allowed me to really take the steps and make change for that. And I think before that point, I sort of had been lying to myself a lot. And I was like, oh, I'm not that unhappy, or like, this is normal. Like, it's normal to be this anxious. It's normal to be this depressed, or it's normal to go drink with your friends 4 nights a week or however much I was drinking. It's normal to hate your life. Like, I felt like, coming from the Midwest, this is just my perspective, I felt like it was really normalized to really be unhappy and hate your everyday. And when I really began through like spiritual texts and reading and stuff to just take responsibility for like everything, that's when I was able to like make a lot of change. And it wasn't easy. It was all really scary. I quit my job, a few times to try and pursue my passions. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But I think when you really take responsibility, you're able to like make a step forward that will serve you in the end. I thought for my entire life, I would be bleeding on the sheets, bleeding in my pants. I literally thought my life was having blood in my underwear and blood everywhere on my period, because tampons literally don't absorb everything.
I know. Tampons and pads are like...
It is I could not believe using the Flex cup.
Yeah.
Using a cup has changed my life. It protects you for 12 hours. I never have leaks. There's 0 product waste, which is huge. Can you think about by the time you first get your period, you're using tampons like a few a day, a few times or 12 times a year. How much waste that is.
I know.
I can't believe
that. It
is
so crazy. So Krista is a Flex cup fan.
Cup for life.
I am a Flex disc fan. So the disc is a single-use menstrual disc that can be worn for up to 12 hours and hold as much flow as 3 super tampons. It's super comfortable. You can't feel it. You can even have sex with it in, which is pretty cool. And Flex discs create 60% less waste compared to traditional products. So I love both. I've used the cup as well. And I think a cup is really incredible because it's comfortable.
Yes.
The Flex cup actually is the only cup that has a pull tab, which makes it easy to take out.
Yes. So what I do is I put it in the morning and then I go all day. And in the evening, I just empty the cup, wash it off, or I just rinse it off with water and I put it back in. And it's been amazing. It's almost like I feel like I'm not even on my period because I'm not having to worry about getting blood everywhere. And I love that it's body safe materials. So it's a medical grade silicone that really sits within. And it's not that easy to put in. I know me and you both have like gone through a process of figuring it out. But once you figure out how to put the cup in,
just like
the disc, it's easy.
It's so easy. And it has honestly helped with my cramps. It definitely has made a difference in my cramps. So say goodbye to cramps, put sex back on the table during your period, and truly help Mother Nature. With Flex, you can do all of that. Go to flexfits.com/almost30 and use the code almost30 for 20% off Flex disc starter kits or 10% off your first Flex cup plus free US shipping. That's code almost30 to save on Flex at flexfits, flexfits.com/almost30.
I have to be honest, I was super skeptical of CBD. I was. So we had tried tons of different CBD from tons of different brands. And so when I tried House of Wise at first, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. I've never really felt CBD. And I took it, the sex gummies, and I could not believe it. Their products are the only CBD that I've been able to feel that I've really felt like work for me and I felt like are effective. And I love their range of products. It's super specific for women. And I feel like our community is obsessed.
Oh my God, they're so cute.
Yes.
They are obsessed. The sex gummies are definitely a favorite. I also love the sleep drops. There's someone on our team that also uses sleep drops every single night. And she's like, oh no, I just ran out.
Oh my God, she sent a message in the chat.
She's like, do y'all have, anyone have sleep drops? I was like, put in your order, girl. It's they're unbelievable. I really find my deepest sleep when I just take a few drops under my tongue every single night so that I could just recover on a cellular level. I can have a deep sleep, hit my REM, get those nice, juicy dreams. I just love their products and I love their mission to really support women in the areas of our life that we need the most support, which is sleep, stress, and sex, baby. Amanda has been on the podcast, the founder, so please check that one out. But we are super proud to introduce you to House of Wise if you don't know them already. We are also investors, which we're really, really proud of. So you can go to houseofwise.co, check out their range of products, and use the code almost30 to get $20 off your first purchase. That's houseofwise.co. Use the code almost30 to get $20 off.
To support my hormone health, one of my favorite things is Hum Nutrition's Moody Bird.
I love Moody Bird.
It's so good. It helps manage symptoms of PMS. It's been one of my favorite ways to balance my hormones naturally. I remember reading about it a long time ago when I went through a hormone health journey, and these were the two ingredients that were super supportive for me. So I am forever in debt to Hum's Moody Bird for supporting me in balancing my hormones naturally.
Yeah, I love Hum Nutrition. We have loved Hum forever. If you're an OG of the podcast, you know this. And right now I am really loving the Here Comes the Sun. This is high potency vegan vitamin D3. So this is going to help my immune system and healthy skin. And most of us are deficient in vitamin D. So really important. I also really love the Collagen Love. This really is great for skin repair, protection.
Yes.
It's super powerful. I take it every single day. So go onto the website, take their quiz. It'll take you just a couple seconds. And honestly, it's very helpful to have basically them prescribing 5 recommendations for you. And they have support on the website from a holistic nutritionist to help you navigate what you need. So go to humnutrition.com, HUM nutrition.com. Use our code almost30 to get 20% off first orders of $29 or more. humnutrition.com. Use the code almost30 for 20% off your first order of $29 or more.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. And if you listen to the podcast, you know Lindsey and I are such fans of therapy. It has really been so beneficial for our relationship together as best friends and business partners, for my romantic relationship, for my relationship with our team. It has been so incredibly helpful. And every time I leave, I'm blown away at what I learned or what I was able to process and how much it's made me such a better person.
Yeah, I really recommend this, honestly, probably every week to someone who's come to me that are like, do you have a therapist that you can recommend? I'm like, this platform is incredible. They'll match you with a licensed professional therapist very quickly, and you can get specific about your needs. So basically, BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. And it's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist, like I said, in under 48 hours. So super quickly. I know we all invest in a lot of things in our lives, but why not your mind, your mental health, your emotional health? It's so important. So really, really happy to be working with BetterHelp. So our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/almost30. betterhelp.com/almost30 will get you 10% off your first month. If you are in need of creating or updating your home apothecary, look no further. I am absolutely obsessed with Anima Mundi. So Anima Mundi is a female and BIPOC owned and operated company founded by Adriana Ayales, who has done camp with us. She's done membership workshops. She is a Costa Rican herbalist, and I am just so mesmerized by her magic and her passion. I am so excited for you to hop in the Anima Mundi shop and take a look around. These are incredible formulations made in the US with certified organic herbs, wild and sustainably harvested plants in a vegan and gluten-free kitchen. There are zero fillers, binders, or flow agents, pure botanical powers. These are potent, so get ready. And they also have teas and much, much more. They have over 200 different herbs from around the world using fair trade practices, beyond organic farming, education they have on their website as well as in courses, and they really support small farmers. So I wanted to recommend a few of their products that I love. I love their energizing and mood boosting herbal coffee. It's caffeine free and adaptogenic. In it is the new formula, the happiness formula, which also is in a tonic that they have, but it is just so, so good. This happiness formula contains key herbal allies that they like to call happy herbs, as they do just that. They make us happy and elevated. And it is energized with some of the top herbs researched to increase a sense of peace and happiness, such as ashwagandha, rhodiola, mucuna, albizia, and St. John's wort. And these happy herbs are also combined with coffee-esque bases for their grounding and exquisite flavors, such as roasted dandelion, roasted chicory, maca, lucuma, burdock, mesquite, and real organic vanilla, y'all. It is so, so good. It supports your liver and your gut. I am so excited for you to try. Go to animamundiherbals.com. You are going to lose yourself in the shop in the best way. ANIMAMUNDI herbals.com, and use the code almost30 for 15% off your purchase. Update that apothecary now at animamundiherbals.com. Use the code almost30 for 15% off.
Did you have a specific catalyst that kind of forced you to take that responsibility? I know you mentioned psilocybin on our episode.
Yes.
Did that play a role in your journey?
I love psilocybin. I feel like that's been like later on in my life, and that has helped me take responsibility. I feel like what I've noticed with psilocybin and how I need to take greater responsibility is that I seek deep, meaningful connection in my life, but sometimes I don't offer vulnerability to get that. So sometimes I'm seeking this like deep, meaningful relationship with people, but I'm actually not being vulnerable, and I'm actually not showing up with my energy because I'm so busy serving them. That's like sort of my default, is to serve other people and serve other people's energy. And so that was something with psilocybin. But I think in my life, the drinking was huge. And then I think with my first job, I knew that I needed to leave, but I had to wait till I had a sexual assault case that I was involved in with my boss, come to terms for me to like end up quitting. Where I was like, I know I need to leave. And then I got involved in this case, and I was like, okay, had to have it blow up in my face for me to really go. So that's what happens with the universe. You know, it's so kind and it's so loving, but it really will continue to give you these whispers until you learn and really listen that like you're living an unaligned life.
Wow. Profound. Have you ever had any experience with psilocybin? Now that I've done it, I like to ask everyone.
Yeah, literally.
No, I'm like,
my new personality trait.
Like, do you have any?
100%.
Did you bring some?
When you come to my town,
You're gonna facilitate for us, honey.
I know. I was like,
we'll be in the car with you.
I make playlists for people. That's my thing when they're on.
Yes, I have. And, you know, for me, I think, especially recently when I've done it, I feel the contrast in how serious I can be, how heavy I can take things on as my own. And so when that is lifted, when I've taken psilocybin and I feel the joy, I feel the brightness and the just like infiniteness of everything. I see myself. So I know that like, you know, human Lindsey is often taking on a lot of things and like feeling a little bit heavy, feeling very serious. It's almost like a protective mechanism at times. Because to be so bright, to be so light is sometimes scary in this world. It's actually really, really hard, you know, at times. And so, I felt that contrast. And sometimes it makes me sad because I'm like, oh, I want to be here all the time, you know, which I'm like so interested in microdosing. I was talking to my brother about it the other day, and, but yeah, it's beautiful. You know, we've done ayahuasca. We did it once, and, I had a really,
4 times.
well, yeah, we did four nights in a row.
4
nights in a row.
You know, I kind of feel like that's how mushrooms are meant to be done. I love that, like peeling back of the layers.
Yes.
And I'd love to hear about your ayahuasca.
Yeah. So we went to Costa Rica to a place called Rhythmia. It kind of felt like, you know, the Ritz of ayahuasca experiences, you know, and we were very, very lucky to be invited there. And I say the Ritz because it was just very comfortable, right? Like they really take care of you. They are facilitating in a way that is so beautiful. The shamans are incredible. The accommodations are nice, and like they provide support the day of, you know, so in the morning we'll have workshops and discussions on what to expect. And then day after integrations, massages, colonic, you know, just very supportive.
Yeah.
So we were not like in the middle of Peru, like doing ayahuasca or in a mansion in Beverly Hills. But I felt really lucky. And, you know, I think, you know, Mother Ayahuasca will give you what you need, and the experience will be what you need. And for me, it was really gentle. And it kind of felt like I was on mushrooms. It was a little more intense, but it had that feel, you know, I definitely had that feeling.
Oneness.
Yes. That oneness. Oh, it was so beautiful. And I just saw, you know, the scenes of my life. It was like this life review of sorts thus far, especially relationships. You know, we were talking in our conversation with you on our podcast about just how much we learn and grow and see ourselves and know ourselves in relationship. And that is what I saw, you know, and I saw scenes more clearly, obviously, in retrospect. For example, like when my mom had cancer when I was in high school, and it was such a blur when I was a kid, you know, it's like, I don't even know. I'm just trying to like be the big sister and make sure everything's good. But I saw how she was so strong, so positive, like beyond, but I saw how lonely she was like in that scene. And I got to have a conversation with her after I did ayahuasca, just kind of about that time, because as a 16-year-old, or, you know, how old I was, I didn't really experience it that way, obviously.
Of course.
But it was actually really a beautiful way to like reconnect with my mom about that time in her life that just happened seemingly so quickly, you know, and we just kind of moved on with life. She's thankfully healthy now, but it's like that changes your life, you know, it changed our lives. It changed her life. So it was actually a really beautiful way to kind of like revisit life moments and have conversations about those.
Yeah. Now from this place of renewed emotional developed emotional intelligence, you're able to go back and deepen connection with the people that you love.
Yes.
It's so nice with the unattachment with the mushrooms. I feel like you've had that too. It's like with the self-centeredness, it's like you're unattached to like what that means for me. So it's like you're observing, you're like, oh, I can be self-centered. And you're like, because before if you're like, you're self-centered, you're like, oh, you know,
me.
like the ego is like me, you know, like, oh my God, that cannot be me. And that's what's so beautiful about it. And one time with my husband, he did it and literally cried for probably 6 hours.
Love that.
Bald, just like,
love it.
But it was unattached. He wasn't like, oh my God. It was just like coming. And it's like even the unattached to the feeling where he's not like wondering, he's not, what does this mean? Blah, blah, blah. It was just able to like have the release. And I think it's so beautiful for that.
And I love that you said, oh, I want to know how to be in that place all the time. Like I would love to just live in that place. And, you know, microdosing, of course, is one way to access that. But I think what I learned on mushrooms is that you can access this at any time, at any place. It's just, it takes a little bit more intention and presentness when you don't have the plant medicine in your system. So something I've been asking myself is, how much joy can each moment bring? Like I just try to continue to ask that throughout the day to deepen each moment. Because really psychedelics, they just put you so deep into every second, every thought, every moment.
Yes.
To where you can feel others.
That's beautiful.
Do you have any mantras that you use or questions that you ask yourselves each day that guide you?
I've been saying lately, I am a living fractal of the divine, which I read somewhere. Maybe it was in Course in Miracles. Maybe it was, I don't know where it was, but I'm a living fractal of the divine. And I'm infinite grace. I love that one. I am love embodied is a good one. And I feel like it changes all the time, but I really try to just come back to whatever I can be, remind myself of like the divinity of me and the infinity of me so that I can connect to that part, because I feel like when we're in our day-to-day, we're like on our phone, we're on the Uber, we're on social media. It's like, you forget that like you are part of God. Like that God is within you. And you're like, if I was a part of God, what would I do? How would I interact with the world? You know, how would I feel? And otherwise you're just like, I am a social media character, you know, like it's this thing. So I'll usually do something like those, but there's also, I forget what the book is, and I'm going to look it up because I've been talking about it lately. I love if I'm ever in a moment of like stress or overwhelm or just kind of having reoccurring thoughts that I'm really wrestling with. There's a book, I'll figure it out, but she says, I cast that to the Christ within. So like the God within us, you can always cast or give up any stress, anxiety, or tension or any worry to the God within you. And like the God within you will always take care of like whatever stress or worry that you have. And you never have to do it alone. Because I think for so many of us, we live our life, we're like, I have to figure this out. I have to do this thing, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, if you only knew the support was available to you through God, through like divinity, you would like act completely differently.
That sentiment is life-changing for me. Thank you for sharing that.
Bless. Yeah.
Yeah.
God rocks.
Right?
God rocks.
Truly. That's the quote from this episode.
Yeah,
God rocks. Krista Williams. Yeah, and I'll just add, I tend to take on, like I'm like a little sponge. So it's like, I release what is not mine and I reclaim who I am. Yeah, I say that often because it's just, again, it's that like just moment by moment practice. Cause I could pick it up from someone on the street and I'm like, oh, I release what is not mine, you know?
I think that's so important too. It's like, they're all unique to whatever your needs are and they change, you know, like that one for you is working. Whereas like a different time could totally change.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned and brought up social media because I think it's so funny. We're having
What's
this
that?
like, I know we're like talking about the God.
I'm like, you ready to be done?
Literally. Divinity and just being one with nature. And then we're like, I got to check my DMs. Like I got to like, oh my God, this person said something now. I'm like out of my flow. Oh no. So I know social media is difficult and it's also so beautiful. So what has your experience been, especially on the note of like comparison and what we were kind of talking about earlier off mic?
Yeah, especially with comparison, you know, I don't know if you have this experience, but like I'll go in through phases where I'm like, good, I'm just creating and I'm sharing and all these things, or I'll be like in complete consumption mode. And I just find myself like, it is actually marked how freaking much worse I feel if I'm in consumption mode.
Yes.
It's actually like alarming. I'm like, wow. But then it's weird because you're in creator mode and I'm like, I think I'm amazing that I'm always creating. Like, you know, sometimes with consumption, I'm like, I feel like I got to tap in. Like, what's everyone doing?
Yeah.
But when you're in that consumption mode, that's in really that comparison. And I did an episode on it recently, but I had to really just get that forgiveness of myself. And oftentimes if I'm looking for ways to support myself, I'll find ways to forgive myself for what I'm doing. So with that, I had to really learn that like in our brain, it's normal to compare. And it actually has helped us from an evolutionary perspective compare. It keeps us safe. It helps us organize. It helps us create community, all of these things. So when we're comparing on social media, it's like we have all these offers to compare that come at a rate that isn't normal from an evolutionary perspective. So we're comparing, you know, on social media just at a rate that we're not used to. So it's overwhelming us, but it's also our brain trying to keep us safe and trying to organize and trying to like make sense of the world. So that allowed me to really forgive that like, oh, it's our brain being normal. It's normal to sort information. It's normal to try and structure information and understand it in our brain. But what I had to do was really just like figure out how I could deal with this because I found myself just completely losing myself. You know, every moment you're like, am I like the same weight as her? Am I less? Am I more? Am I more successful? Am I less? Am I more? Am I all these things? And I think one of my favorite ways to do it that actually involves God is like just being like, whatever's going on with that person, that's like none of my business. And that actually is the business of them and God. And like, I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I don't know what happened in their childhood to get them to this place. I don't know what happens behind closed doors. I don't know anything that's going on. And that's actually God's choice to put them in the position that they're in. And like, I need to focus on like my relationship with God and like what God wants me to do here instead of like all of these other journeys that people have going on that like really have nothing to do with me.
It takes you so out of your own magic and your own flow.
Yes.
And we just have to be, you know, and there's certain, I guess, pages or people that I follow that I notice I'm comparing with more. So sometimes it's being super aware of that and just perhaps consuming different content that is uplifting, that does help you, where someone is perhaps being vulnerable and being a mirror for you rather than a point of comparison. And again, it's your intention and their intention.
And it's also too, like, what about that person? Because I compare myself to very specific people and I admire and seek to have something that they have, something I perceive them to have. So for me, it's like very specific. It's like someone that feels good in their body, someone that has a business that they love, and people that are in alignment. Like, you know, you can tell, like, I feel you for sure, like you're in alignment because everything flows and everything feels natural and everything feels like it's in integrity. So I am in alignment in my life, but I always seek more alignment. So I'm like, all of these things, it's like, I want those more for myself, but I'm looking for the mirrors outside of me. You know what I mean? So I've really had to be like, okay, how can I get myself in more alignment? How can I feel better in my body? How can I really feel more successful in my career? And those comparisons are really just like a guidepost to a deeper understanding of me.
Yeah. And it's like, if they can do it, I can do it. Just flipping it to that. Like, oh, thank you for showing me that this is possible. You are such a beautiful mirror for me. Like, it's expressing gratitude when we want to compare.
Yes.
Completely.
Love that.
And I just noticed, like, with comparison, it's like a different feeling than, you know, it's a different feeling than, I don't want to say like jealousy. Jealousy comes in, I think, when we compare. It's like one of those emotions that like it is so like, it almost feels like primal, where it's like, oh God. And I think it feels that way for me because, you know, there is that other dimension where I'm doing this, where I'm doing something that they're doing or feeling the way they're feeling. And so it almost is like this like pain of like, oh, like I'm not quite aligned with it yet. So I just have to be careful when that's just merely a distraction on social media, like where I'm like, I'm watching my mind compare and I'm like, what? Yeah. Like, you have everything you need to do what you want to do. Like, why are we not doing that? And I think it, in essence, just like delays everything I want to do if I'm caught up on social media and I'm consuming, like you said. It's like, and I've been thinking about that a lot lately, where I'm like, oh, I really need to kind of be extreme with like if I really want to do this thing, if I really want to make music, it will require me. It doesn't mean I can't get inspiration from people, because I really find that to be so helpful and instrumental, but I'm distracting myself, you know, and really strong arming my like true essence and alignment, because I'm like, what does that feel like? That's scary to me. Like, I don't know what that's going to be like. What will that mean? You know? So I've just been noticing that. And I'm just thinking about, what does that look like to take a step back and to have that space away from social media and to create, and like, what does my nervous system need in order to like actually be in that type of alignment? I know I'll be back, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of need to feel what that feels
be
like.
A human.
Yeah.
For a little.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you feel more creative taking time off social media? I'm sure you were like so creative.
So creative. And like, just also having the time to read every morning. Like, I would read for like 4 or 5 hours some days. And I would just read aloud, and Nick would be drawing for 4 or 5 hours and so he picked up drawing while I was off of work too. And I think that the mushrooms also helped him be more creative. Like, this whole thing happened. But yeah, I just had a natural, I had freedom. I had the time to spare. I had, this expansiveness of, I could do whatever I want to do today. So sometimes like even on a day where I perhaps could be creative, I'm like, oh, but I have a meeting at 2 p.m. So I have to do my whole day around that meeting and I have to worry about it for an hour at 10 to 11. And I have to like, it takes up so much space, and like the importance or worry that we assign to it really takes up the space. But having none of that, it was just, oh, what do I want to do? And I think really when we go down to it, I don't think our soul wants to scroll on Instagram or TikTok. I don't think that that's what fills us up.
Yeah.
So when I had the space and the time, it was like, oh, I want to organize and be creative with my organization. I want to draw. I want to read. I want to write. I want to reflect. I want to dance. I want to listen to music. I want to sing. And it just felt okay to do that. And I think to your point of, almost using it as an avoidance tactic to not do the things you should be doing, like making music. Sometimes when we take more time to make the music, we're so filled up from that and we're so energetically aligned from that action coming first that we don't even have to like discipline ourselves in the social media arena or give ourselves a slap on the wrist.
Exactly.
You just naturally crave it less.
Yes, completely.
The craving changes.
Yes. Yeah, that is so powerful. You're 3 weeks off and it's nice because you can like now tap into that feeling. I feel like in my Joe Dispenza meditations, I've been really tapping into the feeling. I'll never forget it on my honeymoon. It was like the second or third day in and my husband was like, hey babe, like, can we please be just us today? Cause I'm like, where's all the friends? Like, where's everyone? Like, where's our community? He's like, can it please be just us? And we woke up super slow, didn't have anything on our schedule. Just like that feeling of nothing on the calendar, nothing on the schedule. We can do whatever we want. The world is our oyster. I remember that feeling specifically, especially after a wedding, because you have so much stuff you're doing. There's so much stress, like blah, blah, blah. So there was a very rare feeling of like, I don't have anything to do at all in the world. Everyone knows where I am. That's actually something too.
Yes.
Everyone knows where I am. Everyone's leaving me alone because they know what I'm doing. My wedding's over. We're at peace and we're alone. And I sometimes am in meditation. I'm like, yo, that feeling was unreal.
Yes.
The best.
I think that's so cute. You said that everyone knows what I'm doing and where I am, because
I didn't realize that until then.
There's such a difference between like avoiding work and procrastinating tasks to give yourself some time off to relax or give yourself an hour versus intentionally saying, hey team, this is my plan. I will be totally off for these hours and days. Let's spend these days getting together what we need so that I can take that time. Call me if there's an emergency and that's it. Yes. So it was the safety, the container of knowing that everyone else was giving me the permission and witnessing me give myself the permission.
Yeah. And it gives you accountability too. It's like accountability. And then because as women and especially like business owners, you're like, and especially with communities, you're like, okay, my team might want me, my friends might want me, my community might want me. So even if we're alone for a day, we're still like, people are wondering or like, what, you know what I mean? We're so relational creatures that we can sort of be wondering. And so to have that like freedom of liberation of like, hey, everyone, I'm offline for this amount of time. Like I'm not going to be available is so important. And even especially with your social community, it's like just being like, hey guys, this is what's happening. Like, that takes a lot of psychic space. I really didn't realize how much psychic space that took up until I had that moment of like, damn.
Yeah. And you don't want to let people down either. And you don't, you feel like that it is a friendship, and it's so hard to nurture all of those friendships and relationships in your lives, especially one with the community where everyone has different needs and thinks of you differently and you do something different for each of them. And it's wild. Yeah. Like parasocial relationships are wild. Like it's a strange thing, but it also can be really beautiful and raw and vulnerable, especially when you show up really honestly and say, hey, here's what that time did for me. I was able to reflect, and here are some of these reflections. And I found that people were actually so happy that I took that time because they're like, oh, we can feel a difference in you. And we want to see ourselves in what you saw yourself in. Like, let's grow together. So
huge.
It's powerful.
That. You have a little rainbow on your face. Yeah. That's my angel sign. She's an angel. It's like right by your eye. It's so cute. I saw the rainbow on the thing over there. Oh,
it's from my little prism.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Oh, the prism. It's from a prism, Jess. It's from a prism. My eye doctor who gave me this journey of all this stuff and vision, she put a prism in my glasses to help the way that light reflects into my eyes so that my eyes work together and there's less stress in my brain. And we just interviewed her before coming here talking about prisms.
Wow.
I have the chills.
Wow.
Wow.
So I would love to know more about the magic of Almost 30 podcast and all that you do within that umbrella, your retreats. Please tell me.
Yeah. So, Almost 30 is not only a podcast. I think the community has really inspired everything that we have done beyond that. And so it started with a ton of in-person events, when the world pre-COVID. And so we were doing retreats. We did a retreat in Malibu that was just life-changing and so beautiful with an intimate crew of about 25 women. And we have gone on tour. So we went on tour for 2 years around the world. And it was just, no one told us to go on tour, but Krista and I were like, we want to meet people in person. It's so important to us. The community is, really just been why we do this. And so, we traveled from Australia to London to Austin to New York, Chicago, SF, everywhere. And we're able to have a lot of fun with our audience and also some one-on-one time and just like really feel why we do this, and I think that was really important. And I'm so grateful that it happened before COVID, because I think then we had a better idea of, okay, where are we going next? And what is this time gifting us? Because yes, of course it was hard. We had planned a festival. We planned a live show tour for 2020. Like we planned so many things, lost a lot of money. And we're like, okay, that sucks. And I think we were actually kind of excited to be home, to be grounded, to work on like the back end of our brand and business and be like, what's working and what's not?
Yes.
How does the team feel? It's like, how are our systems and processes and how do we feel? And I think, 2020 into 2021 was such a transformative year for our relationship too. Like we're so close and like, we're basically married, right? Like with the business, it's, it's very, very intimate and intense. And I think that we had been going for so long and just really dedicated to Almost 30 in a way that didn't put our relationship as a priority. Yeah. I don't think I realized that if our relationship isn't good, the business ain't. So, it was actually such a blessing to be home, to work with our coach, our individual therapist. And so anyway, all that to say, I think now we are super focused on our membership. We have a beautiful membership where people come to just be supported in their evolution. It's like, I wish I had this when I was like, especially going through my Saturn return, but even just moving forward, having community, having workshops every month, having live calls with Krista and I, having that connection with one another, different resources, I think is so, so special. And then we're super passionate about supporting podcasters in launching, growing, and monetizing their podcasts because it's just changed our lives. And we know that so many people out there have a podcast in their heart. And so if we can help and support and just be kind of like, big sisters of sorts and teachers, we really take pride in that because we've done this from our closet floors, so we kind of made all the mistakes.
Oh, each one teach one, right? Mm-hmm. That really lights me up. Is that part of your membership? The podcast kind of?
No, it's separate.
Okay.
Yeah, it's separate. Just because it's so niche, we want to make sure we serve them in a different way. But yeah, the Almost 30 membership is for really anyone.
It's just a community. It's a beautiful community. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm sure a lot of people listening right now have been thinking about starting a podcast. And like you said, yeah. So I will absolutely put that link in the show notes to all of your offerings. And what else is next for you guys?
I literally, my first thought was like, I forget.
I know.
I feel like actually Lindsey and I are going to have dinner tonight and I feel like we need to talk about what the future is because I feel like we are getting messages about a change in direction for the business. And I feel like we need to kind of bring it to the table and talk about it. And I feel like the business wants to evolve. So we need to talk about that. So we will have exciting things coming next year, like membership enrollment camp and stuff. But I think otherwise we're just I think we're wanting to explore our own personal expression outside of the business. And how can we still support our community and business in the most grand way and then also support our own journey.
Absolutely. Do either of you have passion projects or your own projects you're working on right now?
Yeah, we both do. me and with the music.
Yeah.
And Krista with her deck and app, and it's much more than that. But yeah, it's cool because I think, you can become so tightly identified with, in our case, almost 30, which is, it started with us, but it's not us, right?
Yeah,
like it's
so
almost 30
more.
is so much more. And so it's really beautiful to kind of think about like, oh, wow, like she's doing her thing out there and we are here to like support it and like obviously just pour so much of ourselves into it. But then like, who would we be if we didn't practice what we kind of, share with our community, which is like really following your heart. And so if these things are coming through us, it's like, it's our responsibility to, allow that to happen. And, we have our relationship so beautiful in that way. I feel like we support each other so much and really want each other to like shine in that way. So, yeah.
And now you have, so a team that's really strong. So that's why I was able to take time off and do other things. Like you can lean on that team and really focus on what lights you up individually.
Yes.
What kind of music do you make?
It's so funny. I get that question a lot. And I always feel so silly because I'm like, I don't know, because it feels different than anything that I have consumed. I think it takes pieces of, like my favorite meditative music with, my favorite songs that are more lyric focused. So I see it as an A side and a B side, and experiential. I think that, we can listen to music and it can be in the background, and music is so powerful for so many things. And I think, what I've experienced and what we do is that anytime music is underscoring an experience, I'm like, oh my goodness, like here we go, God.
Thank you for imprinting this.
Lindsey sung at my wedding and it was unreal. The video's out. It was, dude, unwell. Everyone was like, it was so unreal.
That is so
beautiful. It was beautiful.
Such an honor. Yeah, it was. So I'm excited to like be in the process so that I can kind of more clearly feel what that is. And also like collaborate. Like I'm excited to collaborate. I don't know if I know the people yet, right? Like, I think once I start doing that more, like they will come in, but because I don't want to be doing the producing. So I'm really excited to have people in their genius and just feel so in flow in that way.
Every moment reveals the next.
There she goes.
Oh, damn.
She's full of them.
I know. I love
She's
it.
that little guru.
I love it.
No. And I'd love to hear about your app.
Oh, yes. So I'm making a tarot deck. There's actually 2 decks that I'm making and then an app to go along with it. And my goal is to really make tarot modern. I feel like all the decks that I see are really like just not modern. And I want to make it super earthy, super clear and super modern. So one of the decks is based on a study of the archetypes through the Law of One text, which is my everything Law of One text is. And then the other is just like a standard tarot deck, and they're just really beautiful. And then within the app, you'll be able to just make it more actionable because I feel like people pull and then they forget and, they don't remember. And so there's such beautiful synchronicity and learning and teaching that's found through tarot. So I want to make sure that they can apply it through the app and just sort of like make it more integrated.
Through the app, is there a way to like save a photo of the reading that you had that day by date so you can go back?
Oh yes, honey. So you'll be able to take photos of your poll. You'll be able to journal what helped connected with your poll. You'll get like a monthly report of your polls to see if there's themes. And then you'll be able to do it with like AR. So you can take a video or photo of it, and then you'll be able to have a poll on the app. So you can be like, I just want to pull on the app. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm really excited about it. My husband is a software engineer, so he's gonna do the app.
You're both killing it.
I know. Not yet.
Well, no, I mean,
talk to us in a year.
Yeah, literally. I will, and I will be cheering you.
Yes. This has been so much fun. I just like really appreciate you. I really appreciate your work, and it's always like blown away how you show up. And I'm just so grateful we got to sit down with you. It's felt like just such a good day.
Yes, it's an honor to meet you both. Truly,
new New York friend.
I know,
absolutely.
And I'm coming
up to Hastings.
Come on up. Come on up. I actually have one like random closing question.
Love it.
What is?
Do you know what this is? Okay.
Yeah. What is one good thing you've done for your microbiome today?
Oh, I love that. I didn't have coffee this morning.
Oh.
I was going to say we haven't eaten yet. So
I had tons of popcorn.
Yeah, you did.
I did my
well, at
popcorn.
least you didn't not eat and then have coffee.
Yes. So I didn't.
So.
I'm not doing coffee anymore. We're taking a little bit of a break. So no coffee this morning felt like great for my bio.
I love that.
Yes.
Okay, great.
First thing I do is just hydrate a ton when I wake up. So I feel like, because before I would like go on a walk right away and like grab my coffee and have the coffee be the first thing that hits my stomach and I eat. So hydrating is just like really, it feels really good.
Love that. Well, thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All the links will be in the show notes as always. Oh my gosh. And you guys, I can't wait for you to listen to Almost 30 podcasts.
Yes.
Yay.
Bye.
Thanks. Y'all. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to our episode on What's the Juice. Thank you to Olivia for having us on the show. So much fun. Make sure to share this episode and make sure to listen to our interview of Olivia on our show by searching Organic Olivia Almost 30. And just want to update you, coming up from Almost 30, we have the Sacredness of Being Single program, which is open for enrollment right now until the end of February. So if you are in that season where you are single, perhaps you are newly to this season, perhaps you've been in it for some time now. I started this program inspired by my own season of being single and how impactful it became when I finally kind of got hip to the idea that, oh, wow, this is absolutely for me, and a season where I got to know myself on a much deeper level. So I would love to have you. If you have any questions, I'm sure they will be answered on our website, almost30.com/sacredness of being single. You can always DM me at Lindsey Simcik with any questions, but we will be beginning at the top of March. So make sure to reserve your spot now.
And you can buy anything from Olivia at organicolivia.com, and you can use code ALMOST30 to get 15% off. Again, I love the Magic Mane. I love the Mood Juice. I love the Liver Juice. And we really appreciate you listening and supporting and subscribing to Almost 30. It means so much. There's tons of other episodes and content that we have available when you subscribe. You can check out our blog for any more resources, and we'll see you on Instagram at Almost 30 Podcast.
Thanks so much to our sponsors, House of Wise, Hum Nutrition, BetterHelp, Anima Mundi Herbals, and Flex. You can find all discount information in our show notes or on our website, almost30.com/partners. We will see you very soon on our next episode. Bye.